What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the All Clemson Tigers show on Athlon Sports. I am Cole Gerard alongside.
George Misovec.
And I am Cannon Gerald. And for the second straight year, Grid After Dark against Georgia Tech is a late night heartbreaker for the Tigers. I was getting deja vu in Little John last night. As soon as I walked in, I knew that I was getting even more of that reminiscent feeling when I started to get real comfortable around the second half, about 5 minutes in. They kind of just came in and stole them for us, and that's a heartbreaker. I mean, that's one that we just I don't want to say can't lose because in my head, Georgia Tech seems like so much better of a basketball team than their record shows. But 4 wins in the conference. I mean, now 5. I mean, they beat Louisville last week, which I guess helps us out a little bit. But geez. Bubbles is already right on the money. I mean, 56 rebounds allowed. I mean, did we even stand a chance?
And it can't happen. Like you said, the deja vu, literally the same game from last year happened again. I was like, this doesn't feel right for some reason. These 9 o'clock tip-offs against Georgia Tech. We went and played it at their place at 9 o'clock a couple weeks ago and just dominated, it felt like. And I was kind of expecting the same thing. I'm like, look, this is a different team from last year. I feel like we're going to take care of business tonight. And almost in a sort did I feel like we were looking ahead to Saturday's matchup against Dick, as if probably everybody in the building was, if I'm being quite honest with you. And that shows you that you can't look ahead. And, Georgia Tech earned it. They freaking dominated us on the boards. And really, if you go and look at their free throw percentage, if they knocked down most of the free throws, I think they shot like 20% last night. They might run us out the building, if I'm being quite honest with you. But yeah, it was total deja vu, Ken, and I like that you used that because, I mean, since these overtimes, I was like, I don't like this. I was like, should have won it in regulation. I thought when he missed that 3, I thought we'd easily come down the board. We didn't. He got his own rebound and sent it to overtime. And, 3 overtimes later, Georgia Tech escapes Little John with the win. But I will add to this, waking up this morning, I felt like we were going to drop 15, 20 spots in the net because you know how they hate Clemson basketball, literally any Clemson sport. But we only dropped 3 spots to 33 in the net, previously at 30. So I feel like, there's still a lot on the table for this Clemson basketball team, for sure. Because, like, last year in this game, we were sitting at, 8 or 9 losses in a conference, if I'm – sorry if y'all hear all that buzzing. 8 or 9 losses in conference play. And literally a year ago when we play – good Lord – when we were playing Georgia Tech, that was when all the Fire Brownell stuff started. So, but there's still a lot on the table for this team, and I can't wait to be in Little John Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like we got caught looking ahead a little bit. Can't really have that at home coming off. Also, again, we talked about it last week, not being ranked, and then once again not being ranked, and it kind of felt like we didn't really deserve it after last night. But I thought, all things considered, we didn't play our best game, but it felt like we were kind of missing a few key parts. Victor Locken, we'll talk about it. I know he got in foul trouble, only played 16 minutes. And then Ian Shefflin, I don't know how many minutes he played, but I know he was out for a while. He had the back spasms he was dealing with. So I didn't feel like we were as physical as we usually are. And I think that definitely was a factor in not being able to rebound as well as we usually can.
Yeah, I think the whole team's performance kind of defensively last night sucks, to be completely blunt with you guys. And I think that's the leading evidence that we were caught looking ahead because we're a basketball team whose identity is defense. That's Brownell's entire game plan. So to come out flat for basically a game and a half because we played 15 minutes of overtime regulation, and you never felt like you were playing that Clemson identity level of defense. It's just frustrating. And to me, I almost feel like last night, gave Duke the blueprint to beat us. You know what I mean? We'll get into the Duke preview and everything like that later. But this Victor Loughlin performance last night was so reminiscent of the time we went to Columbia and got beat by a team that hadn't even won a conference game yet. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. If you can isolate him, make him think that he has to beat you, and then get him in foul trouble simply, then it's obvious that you can kind of mess with our momentum. I think it's unfortunate, too, that Dell Jones wasn't there because I think that would have been another level of intensity off the bench. He's come in already as a freshman and made his mark on this team and on both sides of the court with his facilitating. And that three ball has gotten a lot better the past couple of weeks with it. So I know he was dealing with that Achilles injury. So hopefully we'll have him back Saturday and everything.
Yeah. I'm hearing he's going to be back Saturday, so that's good. I feel like it was kind of a, I don't know exactly what happened in the NC State game, but if to my attention, he could have played last night, but
Yeah.
it was, and that kind of sucks too. Obviously, we're not going to play him when our biggest game of the season is coming up Saturday, but that shows you injuries like that when it shortens up your bench, how another team like Georgia Tech can come in there and beat you. But another spot I'm disappointed in really is, at the end of regulation, at the end of first overtime, second overtime, and third overtime, I think we had last possession in all four of those phases, and we didn't drive the bucket one time. If anybody's shooting the three ball, obviously I want to be Chase Hunter, and I think he took every shot, which is fine. And he missed the ball, he missed it. That's basketball for you. You're not going to make every shot, but when you're tied and you're other than the third time, you're tied in the end of regulation, first and second overtime, with the final possession coming up, drive the bucket, try to get a foul, shoot free throws, and get out of here. I thought we held the ball too long. Like, you have it with 15 seconds coming up the court, and you kind of set your play up. Okay, about 8 seconds left. Let's kind of get it going. I think with 4 seconds left is when we finally drove it up past half court. I'm like, Jesus Christ! And
I will say one thing real quick, if I can. That inbound play to get the ball on the other side of the court was probably the greatest inbound play I've ever seen.
And then the next play was awful.
Yeah.
But it almost like we were going to attempt a 2-point.
Yeah.
And we're down 3 because we ended up in Shefflin and then held it for 3 seconds, then kicked it out and took a terrible shot.
I mean, and even that shot that Chase hit, it was probably the closest one ending the regulation periods, to going in. It hit the backboard and then barely hit off that front rim. Yeah, Chase Hunter, man. Can you say enough about him? 28 points last night. If he hits one of those, it's a 30 bomb. Kind of getting Clemson accolade after Clemson accolade. He's a guy that I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really the biggest fan of his introductory years, on the team and everything, but he's blossomed into what I think is going to be like an all-time Clemson basketball player.
Yeah, I agree. George, you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chase Hunter, he's like you said, he's blossomed into he's a great athlete. He can get up and down the floor, plays great defense, facilitates the offense. He's exactly the kind of guy that Coach Brad Brownell wants. It's a shame last night he was one shot away from being the hero. Like you said, 30 bomb, and he would have had the game winner. But that's kind of basketball, and just it's short. You gotta have short-term memory. You gotta just move on, right? You can't look behind. You can't get caught looking ahead or behind like we did last night. So just be ready, and I know Chase Hunter will.
Yeah. And, kind of like what we have written down, we need a lot more out of Dylan Hunter, I feel like. But I also think that Dylan Hunter has progressed more than anybody on that bench from last year. But to get him a little more minutes, I feel like, and we really do need Dale Jones back. And I'm hearing, like I said earlier, he should be back. But, last night felt a lot like the last year's Georgia Tech game, as we said, but it also felt like a little bit like that South Carolina game. For earlier in the season, Victor Locken goes out with 5 fouls early in the second half and leading into overtime. Ian Shefflin had 4 with 4 minutes left in overtime or something like that. So, if you have Victor Locken in there at the end of the regulations and stuff like that, we probably win that game in regulation because after the guy shot the 3-pointer, Chauncey's at the top of the key. Victor's getting the rebound down there, no doubt. And it shortly fell out of Ian's hands. So, you can't win them all, but, those like that really hurt bad. They sting.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, I mean, looking ahead, we have the 2 most important games conference-wise remaining on our schedule. We got Duke Saturday, obviously we know that. And then, you turn around and 2 days later have Chapel Hill. I like how, we obviously keep comparing it to last year's year. It's not as detrimental to our ACC run because we were kind of fighting for our life in conference play last year at this point. We've put ourselves a nice breathing room. Game back of Louisville. If we can beat Duke, we're just a game back of Duke. Obviously expecting that they beat Syracuse tonight. But, we're still in control of our own destiny. I mean, in no way, shape, or form is this, put us away from any tournament talks. In no way, shape, or form, does this make us any less of one of those top 3 ACC teams. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the pure explosion that the Pitt basketball team has had the past couple of games, but they've kind of been crapping the bed a lot. So I think it's just all about looking forward. I mean, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to lie, I expect a big game because, like we've said before, they were so obviously looking ahead to Duke. We better get a damn show out of it. You know what I mean? If they kind of let one drop and everything like that, then that's okay. But, like, show us why you were looking ahead to the number one team in the country.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, George.
No, I was really just going to emphasize that. I was just like, absolutely. You know, I mean, it felt like maybe at a time we kind of strayed away from the game plan a little bit, shot a lot of perimeter shots and of course we want to make those and you want to take those, but if they're not falling, you gotta work the paint a little bit. And obviously having Lockett in foul trouble, that was a little bit less accessible for us. But yeah, I felt like maybe we strayed away from the game plan, and against a team like Duke, you just can't have that.
Yeah, and it seems kind of like in a lot of Clemson sports, mainly football, basketball, baseball, it seemed that we've kind of, in a big test or in a little test, it seems like that we play to the competition of, the opponent. For instance, Georgia Tech, we're playing a triple overtime game with them. So like Saturday, I would not be surprised if Clemson comes out here and plays their best offensive half we've seen all year. Like, and we all knew it. And, you've seen it all on Twitter and stuff last night. It was the most Clemson thing ever to lose in midweek to Georgia Tech right before the biggest game and probably program. No, I'm not going to say program history because, I wasn't alive for the stuff way before me. But people were like, we weren't going to beat Duke to take first place in the league and this and that. So, like, maybe we had to drop a stinker to Georgia Tech in the midweek to I'm just talking. But, like I said earlier, it does sting and it does hurt because now people are like, oh, this team's not as good as y'all think they were. And all that Kentucky win's still good. It's not looking as great as it was because they're falling back. And, South Carolina's going to be a quad 3 here soon. And other stuff like that, like Penn State's fell off and only meaningful wins are Kentucky and San Francisco and stuff like that. So there's a lot of talk behind this program, but I still feel like there's a lot on the table for this Clemson basketball team.
Also just feel like the ACC basketball, while it obviously isn't as good as it has been in years past, it is kind of getting undervalued. SMU is a team that's been playing extremely well, and we still have them a little bit later on in the season. Florida State's kind of found their groove a little bit besides, that collapse against Boston College last weekend. There's plenty of tests still on the schedule, so I'm not stressed. I don't think that the loss last night really did much towards my overall opinion on how good I think this team is. But I think it just shows that, we might not be there kind of mentally. And that was a big question coming in, losing PJ Hall last year. Like, who's going to be the guy that gets you in the locker room after a game like this and, keeps everyone on the same page, kind of flying the same ship line and everything like that. So I think we just kind of need a leader to emerge. I hope it's Chauncey Wiggins. He had probably the worst game of his Clemson career last night, and we went to triple overtime. So that he's probably up this morning thinking if he made a couple baskets, then, that could have easily gone a different way. And it'd be really nice to see him kind of like embrace that and, really go at Cooper Flagg and Kneppel and all these guys in Littlejohn on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Chauncey, he started strong. I think he had 2 or 3 from 3 to start and then just kind of cooled off. But I liked seeing him shoot confidently. I don't want him to stop doing that. I mean, he's super talented and when they're falling, he's one of those guys who can take over a game, right? So, and then defensively, like you said, with Cooper Flagg coming to town, I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit here, but he's everything. You got to guard everything against Cooper Flagg. So if Chauncey can be our guy there, that's going to be huge for us.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Chauncey's been kind of like a deep 3 kind of guy because he doesn't take anything close to the line. It's like if he's taking the shot, it's pretty far back there, and I feel like that's where he's his best. So, like you said, George, keep shooting the ball confidently, and I know he'll come around, especially for this Duke game. Especially watching the game last night, that we could have made a few extra plays to sneak out of Littlejohn with that win. But obviously, Duke, Clemson square off this Saturday. The time was changed from 6 to 6:30 because of all this Luka nonsense. Like I said before we went live, I hate the NBA. I just absolutely hate it. I think it's stupid almost. But
as a Spurs fan, I love the NBA.
You do?
I do.
I just can't get into it, man. I don't know why. Like I'm almost at the point, I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. I know we're a bunch of losers. I get it. George hates me the most probably. But I mean, NFL is working its way to all the nonsense and, worrying about politics and other stuff than football itself. So that's kind of where the NBA went.
Yeah. I mean, I think just a small thing there. with the NBA, I can understand both loving it and hating it. It's a long season, and it feels like guys they don't play the game. They don't play the season they used to play anymore. They don't care as much maybe for the regular season. But that's, I think, why college athletics is so easy to gravitate to. Every game, it feels like, has massive stipulation. We had Georgia Tech last night, and we're sitting here talking about what's gone wrong now. And so that's what I think I love about college athletics is every single time that you lace up and you put that jersey on, there's something's going down. So
it's kind of like, like you said, a long season in the NBA. Kind of, points off to the MLB. Nobody consistently, like, I'm a diehard Braves fan. I've been going to Braves games since I was a kid. Like, I don't consistently watch every single Braves game on TV. Like, it's impossible. Like, yeah. If you do, you got a lot of time on your hands because, they play 100, yeah. Like, so now when it gets, like you said, playoff basketball is fun to you, George. I think MLB playoffs are insane. So that's kind of where it matches up. But let's talk about this Duke game. Obviously, we've talked about Cooper Flagg a little bit, his insane Superman abilities, and hopefully this is where Chauncey Wiggins turns around because I think, obviously, Chauncey Wiggins will be guarding Cooper Flagg on Saturday. Duke holds opponents to 37.7% shooting. They're number one in the ACC in that. We know Flagg's going to make some plays. We know it's going to happen. He's the best player in the country. He's going to go first pick. We know it's going to happen. But gosh, I think this atmosphere is going to be better than 2022 Duke game.
Yep. Coach K farewell tour with Palo and all them. I think this would be the best time, especially while we've been in the Clemson area, Cole. I agree with that. Because I think, if you to be honest, I think this Duke team is the best team in the country. I think there's an argument for Auburn, but I think this is the best team in the country. Yeah,
and obviously, Dick Vitale returns to the broadcast for the first time in 2 years, and why not come back to Clemson, who I feel like he's a friend of the program, as I like to say. He's always had a lot of respect for Brad Brownell and this Clemson program. So I think there'll be a big tribute to him. Getting back on the headset Saturday. I think it's all around going to be a great day. Clemson Baseball has their preseason party before that. So I feel like, Tiger Town is going to be packed Saturday. It's going to be a lot of people in town. I expect, the student line for Duke. I got an email earlier from SID Ben for basketball. The student line opens up at 9 a.m. So, whoever's going to wait in that at 9 a.m., I'm sorry. I pray – obviously, you're going to get a ticket if you're out there at 9 a.m., but I just could not wait out there until 5 p.m. when the gate opens for students.
Yeah, that's going to be something. I saw actually Auburn had fans lining up last night for the game on Saturday against Florida. So, some schools, it's pretty incredible.
Are they giving out tickets before Saturday? Or
I'm not sure, but they had tents, and I'm like, they're going to sleep there for 3-4 days before they even have a shot. So
what's it called? Shashetskyville, bro? And Duke, they've been in there for 2 months, bro. Think about that, 2 months in a tent for a game.
To watch a blowout, really. You got to think about it. I couldn't do it.
But I can't do it either. But I know my ass will be out there, probably not 9, but damn 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got to do what you got to do. Absolutely. I'm excited. I think I think that we got a really good chance. I don't think that anybody gets their teams prepared more for these big home games than Brad Brownell. We've won 3 or 4 of our last 4 top 5 matchups at home, which is just kind of an insane winning streak. And you obviously hope to keep that alive. We've beaten Duke and competed with Duke a lot lately, especially in Little John. Last year you have that heartbreaker, and absolute heartbreaker in Durham that kind of, ended with some free throws missed. So I think they kind of remember that. I expect Chase Hunter to have over 20 points. We're going to need one of those games from Shefflin, which, I'm not going to hate on the Chef ever in my life, but, because he's obviously had that calf and back injury and spasms kind of plaguing his last couple games. But it's just kind of been a lack of intensity, it seems like, for our guy that, has the ability to single-handedly get the entire arena into the game. So I'm just kind of hoping for the emergence of scoring, whether that's from our bench or has to be Chase Hunter dropping 40 points, it doesn't matter. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited, hopefully, to get to see, like you said, Ian Shefflin kind of get back to himself, right? We knew Chef is a guy who's going to get 10, 11 rebounds a night, who can shoot the long ball or work inside. And it's the physicality and it's kind of the grittiness and the movement on the inside that's made him great. And with those back spasms, he's kind of lost his identity a little bit as a player and hasn't really been able to properly physically assert himself in the glass and stuff. And so I think if he can be back and with a nice 4-day break after yesterday's game, hopefully get healthy, that should be something that we can lean on against Duke.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it stings, but I kind of feel like more excited now for this game. A lot of people were saying they're less excited for the game Saturday because we dropped a game like Georgia Tech, but now Duke's a game and a half up in the ACC now. I kind of feel like this is going to pump our guys up more in a set because obviously, it was a stinker last night. We played pretty bad, in my opinion. A few short plays away from, going out there in regulations, but, we lost. We lost triple overtime, literally same game as last year, as we said before. But could this maybe set the Duke team back a little bit? Probably not because they're the best team in college basketball, but now they're looking at it as, we're a game and a half up. The Clemson sucks. They lost to Georgia Tech at home, triple overtime and a 9 o'clock tip, this and that. But if anybody can turn these guys around, it's Brad Brownell, in my opinion. Having leaders like Chase Hunter, Ian Shefflin, and really Victor Locken is kind of been a leader in a sense for that Clemson basketball team. Because if you look at it, when he's on the bench or he's fouled out, he's coaching. He's coaching those guys up. He's standing up more than Brad almost. So I'm still very excited for this game on Saturday, if not more pumped up, after a loss like that, because this is going to fire these guys up, and I really do feel like they come out, pumped up, and a lot of people don't really look at it this way, but the atmosphere has a big impact on college basketball. I feel like last night was not a bad crowd, could have been a lot better, but this Saturday it's going to be insane, probably the packest I've ever seen Little John.
Yeah, getting specific into this Duke team and kind of what we're going to have to do to win this game. This is an insanely talented roster. I was doing a little research earlier yesterday and today, and three freshmen that start, all three guys can easily be first-round picks. And it's don't get it wrong, it was the Cooper Flag show. He leads the team in scoring, rebounding, every stat pretty much you can measure. And so it's going to come down to containing him. But I think those guys being freshmen, if we can kind of force a couple turnovers and win the turnover battle and hit a couple extra shots than usual, it's a game that's winnable, but it'll never be easy.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be right back from a quick word from our sponsors.
The winter cold is on its way, and it's time to have your heating system serviced. Just like changing the oil in your car will lead to longer engine life, having an annual tune-up on your heating system will keep you warm in your home all winter long. Annual furnace tune-ups will keep your utility bills in check and your warranty intact. It catches little problems before they become big headaches, and it also improves the quality of the air in your home. If you haven't had your heating system inspected by a professional yet, schedule your annual tune-up with Blue Ridge Heating and Air today.
Ever find yourself needing custom gear that really stands out? At Carolina Printing Sports and Trophy in Hartsville, SC, we personalize everything from t-shirts to trophies, making sure your brand or team logo pops. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, or dazzling plaques, we've got you covered. Swing by today and let's create something unique just for you.
All right.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was a word from our sponsors there. Kind of take us into a little bit of a football, a little spring talk. You got the spring game on the way and then the Bananas. I don't know if the Bananas actually play first. You guys might have to check me on that. But it's kind of been a quiet couple weeks around the Clemson football team, after taking a couple monumental transfers in and everything like that. But it has not been a quiet break for these assistant coaches, man. I feel like every time I go on Twitter or Instagram, I'm seeing Matt Luke just somewhere else, and I am absolutely loving it. And you can tell that the hard work is paying off because we actually just got a crystal ball for Adam Guthrie, who's a 4-star offensive lineman from the state of Ohio. I believe he was the number 6 player in the entire state of Ohio. Midwest football, it reigned supreme. I think they won the national championship in every single division of collegiate football this year. So I'm excited. I think that it's another great addition. I think Matt Luke just continues to be, I genuinely think, one of the best hires Dabo's ever had. Like, I think at this point he's top 3, just genuinely because the way that he immediately came in and revamped what was so evidently the biggest problem with our offense in 1 year. And then the year after, kind of flipping that, it seems like immediately the season ends and he's back on maintaining that same kind of perception for his offensive line group. I don't know what to be more excited about.
Dude, you know, it's like, we played Texas 2 months ago, and you're like, okay, it's the off season. It's going to be 9 months or so. I'm not counting the months exactly, but until we play LSU at home. But now, spring football's starting up this month. At the end of the month, adding guys like Will Helt, Tristan Smith, Jeremiah Alexander, and then the incoming freshman, for instance, Gideon Davidson, who took the number 9 Travis Etienne. Hopefully it's we think that's Travis in that uniform when he's running the ball, but I can't wait. Obviously, getting God, I can't remember Tom Allen, getting him on campus, starting with those defensive guys. Getting guys like DeMonte Capehart back for a 6th year was a big pickup. Obviously, keeping Cade and Antonio Williams and guys like that, TJ Parker, Peter Woods. But end of the month, and then obviously carrying into April will be the spring game. And then it'll be LSU time before you know it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't speak highly enough about Matt Luke, like Cannon was saying. Such a great hire. And like you said, the way the O-line has kind of turned around, and even just last year, through the length of the year, improving from that Georgia game where they didn't look their best, definitely not. And then you got to the end of the year, and it felt like they were able to consistently kind of give Cade a comfortable pocket and allow him and work the scheme and work outside and whatever they needed to do. But getting on to, like you said, Will Helt, those kind of guys, the transfers, Jeremiah Alexander, Tristan Smith. For one, like I said, Will Helt, I am so excited to see what he can bring. At times last year, I think that our rush lane integrity was a little bit skewed, and part of that was probably Peter Woods being moved to the outside. He's not as fast of a guy coming off the defensive end as we want, maybe. So being able to move him back to the middle, and you got Will Helt on an edge, Peter Woods, DeMonte Capehart, and TJ Parker. That's going to be a D-line where there's not really a single spot where you can't double team anybody, because if you leave somebody one-on-one, or you know what I'm saying, you can't double team anybody. And those are guys that, if they have the season that they expect themselves to have, and we hope that they can have, they could all be draft picks next year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at a guy like Greg McElroy. I don't know your guys' personal opinions on Greg McElroy. I've never been the biggest Greg McElroy fan. I don't think he's like you say, Cole, I think Greg McElroy is an enemy of the program. I don't think he's a big Clemson guy ever. And he's coming out and he's giving us his best odds to win it all next year. We're not too far reserved from being in the field of winning national championships. Obviously, we still remember it and feel like it was yesterday. But after the year we just had and the inning we just had, it is hard not to have nothing but excitement. And you're saying Gideon Davis, number 9. Shoot, dude, he doesn't even have to be Travis Etienne. I mean, Gallman wore that number 2. If he wants to be another Gallman, I'll take that too. So I just think it's very very exciting. I think that we just got a whole bunch of guys that fit, and kind of getting that announcement today of everyone's numbers and everything like that. It's just kind of making it feel more real. And like you said, we got about 9, 7, 8, how many ever months away into that game in Death Valley. But it's starting to feel like these guys are actual Tigers now.
Yeah, I mean, also credit to Coach Sweeney, right? Everybody for the last 2 years, all I've heard is that he won't adapt, he won't pay his guys, he won't use the portal. And what happened? He goes in and he sees a need. He analyzes his program, and it's exactly what you're supposed to do. And I remember during the offseason, I was kind of thinking, I talked to a few of my friends, maybe picking up a running back out of the portal. We lost Phil Moffa, and we weren't sure kind of who was going to be the guy Latin coming in. And I remember Dabo going to the stand and saying, we think we've got the best in the nation coming in Gideon Davidson. And it's no shock that he's wearing number 9, and he's absolutely built for it. Just look at the guy. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, kind of adding what Cannon said about Greg McElroy. Me and Cannon were talking, I think it was right before the Texas game when we did our little show, where I was talking about Greg McElroy, how, he would just say we had no chance. And, we did lose the game, obviously, but, I feel like we played well enough on offense. If we had a few stops on defense, who knows where we could have been. But yes, I mean, he's been, after watching that video there, I was like, dude, is somebody holding him at gunpoint or something?
Yeah.
Like, does he have to do this? Like, somebody's behind that screen saying, you got to do this. But he's very high on this Clemson football team going into this 2025 season. And Dabo Swinney, he was talking about him opening up the portal, going to get, not building. That's a big thing that I've always told people is, I'm okay with opening up the portal. Do I want to build a super team like some of these people are doing and getting 25 guys out the portal? South Carolina, for instance, we went and got 3 guys. I think 3 guys out of the portal, and we might add a couple in the spring. Who knows? Do I expect us to? No, Will we? Maybe. Who knows? But I feel like we just got those pieces that we needed to add to. And yeah, there is a couple more positions we can add a couple guys to. That's fine. But looking at this freshman class coming in, these returners, what did we lose? 2 starters on offense, Marcus Tate and Jake Brenningstool. I guess you could say Troy Stellato, but he wasn't an everyday wide receiver. So I agree with Greg, obviously, but I didn't really expect that to come out of his mouth. But I'm all in with Greg on that one, and I'll be his fan if he still acts like that coming into August and stuff like that.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that I think sky's the limit. I think that it's interesting, and I kind of think that Dabo maybe dipped his toes in a little bit to the transfer portal this year, because looking ahead to next year, it's going to be an exodus of the Clemson football team. We're losing a lot of guys, both sides of the ball. And, we have the 26th. I think we finished with 26 recruiting class in the entire country, which, better than 150 other teams recruiting wise, but still kind of not at that standard for replacing an entire football team staying at the national championship competing level. So I think we might kind of see not that mega team building next year, but definitely kind of more emphasis and reliance on the transfer portal maybe. So I think it's exciting, and I think that Clemson football is looking bright. Do you guys have anything else particularly that you guys wanted to touch on with the football?
No. Yeah. Just one small thing. Like you said, you mentioned the recruiting. I mean, 26th, in my opinion, I think Clemson, that absolutely has to be higher. This is a program that you should be top 10. Not like you don't have to be every year, but if you're not always hanging out around the top 10, that's, in my opinion, an issue. And I think that that's part of why you've seen Matt Luke and Coach Sweeney and everybody hit the trail so hard as this offseason started, because Coach knows he wants to develop his guys at a high school. We'll see he's going to take a transfer when he needs it, but Coach Sweeney's always been a guy he wants to get his guy, and he kind of wants to mold him, and he wants to be able to be a Clemson football player. And we know what that means. It means something different than being, I'm not going to throw a name around, but it means something else than being a regular Power 5 football player, and building a team, like Cole said, that's strictly out of the portal. It can be so volatile. We saw Florida State last year. I mean, that's a team that was 13-0, and then to go 2-10, and it feels like it's because of the portal. So, you never want to be that team. So I think that's part of why that we've hit the trail so hard, and I'm excited to see kind of hopefully a bounce back in recruiting for this cycle.
Yeah, definitely. I think that we're building it right. I definitely think so. All right. Well, we are officially single-digit days away from getting back on the diamond and Doug Kingsmore. We won't be opening up the season, obviously, as we've talked about. Cole, how excited are you for Arlington?
Dude, T-minus 7 days? Until. All right. Well, T-minus 7 days until we're there. So, so leaving, it'll be tomorrow, leaving next Thursday. I'm excited. I've never been more pumped to watch Clemson baseball than next week. I think this is the, like I said a couple weeks ago, first time since 2005 we've not opened up in Doug Kingsmore Stadium. I don't think in my lifetime, maybe, because I was born in 2004, but I said 2005. But we haven't been on the road in February in a long time. So it's really cool for the program, obviously, and I think it starts with Eric Bakich. He's played in this tournament a couple times when he was at Michigan, but if I'm inviting a program and I see Eric Bakich beside it, I'm gonna research this guy's name, not knowing anything about him. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's who I want here. Playing the Savannah Bananas, repping absolutely ridiculous, getting Jazz Chisholm, calling himself an alumni now of Clemson. The proper propaganda of Clemson baseball has just been spread around the country, probably in other countries as well. We don't know. But, dude, I cannot wait to watch Clemson baseball. It's coming up next Friday in Arlington, Texas against Oklahoma State. So, dude, it's going to be insane. I hate for the people that can't be there. I hate that it's not on like ESPN Plus or something like that. I know you got to get like a little package with Flow Sports, but I think it's going to be sick. And I think, this is probably the best thing, we could open up with. And, Coach Bakich likes to say he wants to get punched in the mouth for these 3 games. I hope not. I hope we go in there and kick their tails, but, that's kind of his motto about it. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited as well. And I think that everybody around the ACC would say that they're excited as well, seeing as we came in 4th in the ACC preseason conference rankings. I'm going to be honest, I did not expect to see us at 4. I think I've been, like you said, I've been listening to the Clemson propaganda since that Florida game last year, and I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, and I see all the guys that were getting in. I expected to be 1, at the very least 3, to be honest, because I do think Virginia is a freaking squad this year too. But coming at 4, you know what I mean? Like, you're telling the truth, Cole. You're giving a coach like Eric Bakich who some fuel, like a chip on the shoulder kind of thing. Like, hey, we just went to hosting our own super regionals last year, and now they think that you guys might not even come out of this conference that you guys have won within the past couple years.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't really get too pissed off about the preseason, or I think, was that the coaches poll? Yeah, it was the coaches poll. 4th in the coaches poll is insane. But I think in the preseason, like, just rankings for the ACC, I think we were 4th as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like they just went and put it as who made Omaha and who didn't. Obviously, Virginia, Florida State, North Carolina were all Omaha. Okay, then we'll put Clemson at 4th, yada, yada, yada. It's nothing but fuel to the fire for Eric Bakich and the squad. So, yeah, I mean, I was kind of pissed off about it. Didn't really expect it, but that's where we are. But, they'll see next week.
Yeah, I mean, 4, that's a bit egregious in my opinion. Obviously, a little bias coming from this show. But, I mean, it to me, for what we brought back, and I understand having lost a couple arms, but having what we brought back just purely offensively. I mean, this lineup might get you 40 wins regardless of who you're throwing out there. I mean, these guys rake, and as Cole mentioned, being able to start the season in Texas and Arlington, that's going to be so fun. I mean, just being in that national spotlight, kind of, just being out there on, hopefully, the broadcast will be solid. But, yeah, just being out there, having some fun. And I love the quote that Coach Bakich had the other day. He mentioned, obviously, the ultimate goal is to go to Omaha and win the national championship. But you got to have fun. You got to go back to the basics. And they nicknamed the field the playground, I think it was, because, this is a team that has fun. And you just watch them. And obviously that Savannah Bananas game, the Jazz Chisholm collaboration, everything you mentioned. Obviously they're hard-nosed competitors. They want to win. They want to win every single pitch. But while they're doing it, they're having a great time.
Yeah. Well, next week, next Friday, number 15 Clemson take on number 17 Oklahoma State on the Diamond in Arlington, Texas, in the Shriners Children's Hospital Classic. So, we're just 9 days away from first pitch, and it'll be here before you know it. And it's going to be a long season, long, fun season, and I can't wait. But you guys have anything to add to that? Sorry.
I mean, are we gonna get into specifics for each team? We can, but
I mean, it's up to you. Somebody asked if we talked about the heartbreaking loss of Georgia Tech. Yeah, I think we had about 30 minutes, or no, about 20 minutes of that. Yeah, so we talked a lot about that. That was a brutal one, but I mean, we can talk about the first 3 games.
I mean, yeah. Well, starting off with Oklahoma State, I mean, this is a team that's been nationally relevant for the last couple of years. You got Adley Rushman coming out of there, Nick Madrigal, a ton of first-round talent that have been there, coming off their 3rd straight 40-plus win season. They did lose a lot of talent this year. They lost a lot of starters, but I mean, you got to assume that Oklahoma State's going to come out ready and going to come out raring to go. So,
yeah. I don't know what happened to Cannon, but looking at that, you play number 17 in the country, Oklahoma State, and then you turn around and play the next day, number 21, Arizona. So, I mean, that's 2 top 25 programs right there. And obviously we know Ole Miss, the struggles they've had the past couple of years. But, I mean, Ole Miss is a team that can, be on the rise again this year. And it seems like once they won their national championship, they were done for a few short years. But, this is going to be the biggest test in a while for Clemson baseball. Obviously, the heartbreaker in the super regional, but I think it's going to be the best thing for us. Yeah,
I mean, I'm excited for it. And you mentioned Ole Miss. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Coach Bianco. He's always going to have a talented roster, and he's not going to fold over for anybody. So I'm interested to see kind of what we get and being able to adapt, playing against real strong competition, something we're not exactly used to in the early part of the season.
Yeah, we lost Cannon for a second, guys, if you couldn't tell. But, Cannon, we were just talking about, obviously Clemson playing. We're opening up at number 15 in the nation. We play number 17 Oklahoma State that Friday, and then turn around and play number 21 Arizona on Saturday, and unranked Ole Miss. Talking about these 3 games is a huge test. It's almost like a super regional type atmosphere for this Clemson Tigers team. in Arlington, Texas. So, I mean, we were just kind of adding on to, this is an early test for us to see how tough we are, offensively and defensively.
All right, yeah, I love it. I would say that these are the 3 most excited games that I have on my schedule for the Clemson baseball season. I think that's just because I'm ready to see the Tigers back in action so much. Like you said, Cole, we're about a week away to, starting the season, which, I genuinely like. This is the best Clemson baseball team I think that I've seen in my recent memory of about 10 to 15 years. So I'm excited. I have high expectations, and I look forward to us hopefully, winning our first tournament of the year.
Now that you say the winner, I was looking at the bracket. Can anybody even win this tournament? Because I feel like it's like there's not like a if they give us a trophy, I'll take it. But I was kind of
I saw a couple of Ole Miss and Arizona fans arguing on Twitter about it. I think the Ole Miss fan or the Arizona fan was asking if there was a trophy involved, and the Ole Miss fan kind of said it's like more of like a moral victory kind of thing. So yeah. I'm not really sure how it is either.
If we sweep it, we win it.
Yeah, hell, I'll take a moral victory to start the year.
There's no question.
Yep. But like we said, 9 days away from opening pitch. But me, Cannon, and George will be back here next Wednesday, and we'll be getting into the roots of it then. They'll start feeling real. So we'll get into that next week. But as always, I'm Cole Gerard.
I'm George Misvec.
And I'm Cannon Gerald.
We will see you guys next week. Thank you.
See you guys.
See you.